Shakeel, thanks for sitting down with me today. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Shakeel, the international treaty plays a considerable role in everyone's life within the seed industry, but I'm pretty convinced that most people don't really truly understand it. Can you speak a little bit about to the treaty, the impact on the seed industry and the various stakeholders, and then maybe your role within?
Very happily. The International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources is the international agreement which facilitates access to seeds and to plant genetic resources for plant breeding. It's an international law instrument that has been ratified by 135 countries and the European community, and it is essentially the main legal framework through which plant breeders are able to access a plant genetic material for their breeding programs. So the impact on plant breeding and on breeders and on seed companies is that without the treaty they would not be able to obtain plant genetic resources for their breeding programs through a standard facilitated access process. Through this access process, we at present transfer about 600 to 800 accessions of genetic resources per day worldwide, and the treaty's multilateral system of access and benefit sharing, which is the main system of the treaty, creates a global gene pool in which we have now about 1.6, 1.7 million documented samples of genetic material, and that is available through this facilitated access. And in practical terms and legally speaking, it's actually far more, but 1.7 million are those that we have actually digitally documented.
That's a big program. Big program to facilitate. What's your role within that?
Well, my role is that I'm the secretary of the treaty, so I head the secretariat that services the governing body of the treaty, that is the General Assembly of all its members, and it also services, importantly, all the users of the treaty systems. So we both facilitate intergovernmental discussions, but we also provide services to plant breeders, to seed companies, to researchers, scientists, farmers, and universities. And all these stakeholders are the beneficiaries and users of the treaty systems.
Right, okay. So as I understand it, there'll be some changes to the treaty coming up next year. Can you talk a little bit about the potential direction of those changes? Yes,
in fact, there are some very exciting changes coming up to the treaty in next year and in the following year, the next biennium. We are now, after the governing body, the 6th session that we just held in Rome, we are now embarking on two major exercises. First, we have consolidated what is called the enhancement of the multilateral system. This is basically an improvement and potential expansion of the gene pool that I mentioned earlier. The way this will be done is that we are going to develop a revised standard material transfer agreement, that is the standard private contract by which all the genetic material that I was referring to before on a daily basis is exchanged worldwide. And we intend to have this new contract ready in 2 years from now. And the second exercise that we are beginning now, and that was just approved, is the quite groundbreaking launch of the Global Information System on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. And this is a new gateway to all kinds of plant genetic resource information, which the governing body has just endorsed, both in its vision and its work program. And as the countries have described it, they would like it to be a kind of Google for plant genetic resources, where with a one-stop shop and a single gateway, a user or any beneficiary, any stakeholder can go to and can find all kinds of information about a particular plant genetic resource that he or she is looking for. And that would include, for example, a description of the seed at the level of the accession at the seed level, but also molecular data like genomic sequencing data, or morphological characterization data, or geospatial data of where this accession, this material was collected, where it occurs, climatic data, all kinds of related data that describe this plant genetic diversity that we manage.
Right. You don't take on small pieces, do you? Those are big pieces.
Well, the international community has really taken a very, I believe, forward-looking and very bold step. What they are doing by deciding to initiate this new global information system is they are addressing several trends. One, what I have liked to call the dematerialization of the use of genetic resources. In other words, the fact that previously, for breeders, there was a need to access the physical germplasm, the actual physical material. Today, more and more predictive breeding, precision breeding is being done through very advanced computational techniques as well. So the data, and with the reducing cost and increasing speed of big data computational capacity, as well as with the high throughput genomic sequencing capacity now, we are seeing more and more the ability to use, compile, process, and disseminate and interpret large data sets in and of themselves, detached from the genetic material.
Right.
So the international community, by launching this global information system, is also seeking to address this particular trend in plant breeding. And it is also trying to utilize the new possibilities and potentials that lie in the increasing computational capacity we have.
Right. What would you like to see the seed industry doing to support your efforts with the international treaty, and how can the seed industry help?
Yes, I think the role of the seed industry is very important in both the international treaties processes directly, as well as the role of the seed industry in interfacing with the governments who are the members of the treaty. Of course, the treaty is an intergovernmental treaty, but the seed industry has an important role in multiple respects. First, governments are really seeking to now ensure that their own contributions to what is called the benefit sharing mechanisms of the treaty, the benefit sharing fund, are that those contributions from governments are complemented by what they call user-based payments. And the seed industry has been very engaged in this, and I'm very grateful that just earlier today I received a contribution from the president of ESA of 300,000 euros. And this is certainly one aspect in which governments are looking to the seed industry to complement their governmental efforts. Secondly, and equally importantly, it's not just about monetary contributions. It's very much about the seed industry as an important stakeholder in the system, contributing to the policy debates in the treaty, contributing its perspective, its priorities to the policy discussions of how the international community should be dealing with all the evolution, the dynamic evolution we're seeing now in plant breeding, with new technologies, with new user groups, with new possibilities for actually ensuring food security.
Right. Just to quickly touch on the $300,000 voluntary payment that ESA offered. That's I see you've actually brought your large-scale check with you today. That's always fun to walk around with those $300,000 checks. Can you talk a little bit? That was initiated by ESA to approach FAO and work for the dollars to go towards the international treaty. That's the first time that's ever happened.
This is the first time that has ever happened that a International Seed Industry Association has systematically and collectively worked to make a contribution to the treaty's benefit sharing fund. I'm personally very grateful for that effort. I know it took more than a year of work among the entire ESA membership, and I think this is a very important signal to the global community that the seed industry is really invested in ensuring the viability of the treaty, ensuring fair and equitable benefit sharing, and ensuring that conservation and use of plant genetic resources through mechanisms like the benefit sharing fund can be practically supported. And I think that's where today's contribution comes in as a very important milestone and gesture.
You've got a lot on your plate. You got a lot. There's changes coming. There's lots of work to be done. Can you talk a little bit about your top priorities for the coming year?
Yes, certainly. I think the coming year is going to be a very exciting year, a very important year for making the transition to the enhanced multilateral system. Our priority for that will be twofold. One, to really advance the development of the new Standard Material Transfer Agreement, and in that the priority is to develop what has been called a subscription system or subscription model. Under this model, there will be the possibility for plant breeders and other stakeholders to make a subscription and thereby make an upfront payment and then receive facilitated access to the collections of germplasm that the international treaty manages. So this will be our first priority, and secondly, we will also be developing the global information system. We are working on an initiative to establish permanent unique identifiers as a global standard for the exchange of data on plant genetic resources, and we're working with other partners under the guidance of the governing body of the treaty to initiate and continue the DIFSEEK initiative. Right. This is now by the governing body, which has given direct guidance on this, going to be moved forward together with our partners, the Global Crop Diversity Trust, the CGIAR Consortium Office, and the Global Plant Council.
Excellent. Sounds like a busy year.
I believe it will be.
Yes. Shakeel, thanks for sitting down with me today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.